This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Gareth A. Davies is back in the UK from his long trip to the States. How was it, Gareth?
Oh, it was fantastic. I'll tell you the details. I managed to catch up. I crisscrossed Tyson Fury on his way back after their COVID outbreak in the camp. Met up with his team, went out for dinner with Sugar Hill Stewart, met up with Tim Alcock, his logistics manager, went to see Bob Arum, went to a visit to the house that Tyson Fury's bought in the suburb of Las Vegas, nicked his belt off the mantelpiece, got a little pic with it. I went to see Bob Arum, met up with Gene Kilroy, with Tim Alcock, Gene Kilroy being Muhammad Ali's old business manager. Had a fantastic evening with him, went to his house, and then went over to Los Angeles and covered the Bellator event there, where AJ McKee beat Pitbull in a fantastic event at the Forum. Got to hang out a little bit with Khabib Nurmagomedov and his cousin Usman Nurmagomedov. That was brilliant. Brilliant guy, Khabib. And then on the last day there, went to see Manny Pacquiao at the Wildcard Gym and had a little bit of a chat with him and some lunch with him before heading back to Old Blighty. It was a fantastic trip. And first time I've been in the States for 17 months. And as you know, we miss going over there because a huge part of the fight world revolves around events in the United States.
Well, yeah, of course, it's the main part of the fight world. It sounds like you had a busy time.
It was busy, it was. But, I was 12 days in Vegas, so there was time for a little bit of hair letting down. It's a different place at the moment. Obviously not full of European or international travelers too much from this part of the world. Everything on kind of half time, if you like, places opening later, closing earlier. Not the Vegas that people watching this will know that it's 24 hours. It's not a 24-hour place at the moment, and it's slowly opening up. And there were a lot of concerns about the fast spread of COVID there, we're still in the COVID-19 era, but it was a busy time. It was great to be there, and ditto with Los Angeles, and to be around an MMA event which had a live crowd of 11,000 for the first time for Bellator in several months. So it was a brilliant trip.
Okay, so Gareth, of course, I want to ask you about the first two DAZN UK shows that they've done with Matchroom. Obviously, I know you were busy in the States, but did you manage to catch any of it? And what have you made of it so far, Gareth?
Yeah, I mean, I was absolutely delighted for Lee Wood with him getting the WBA regular title. I thought it was a triumph for him and Ben Davison. I think it was a perfect bit of matchmaking as well, to fight Shu Kan, who's not a big power puncher but a volume puncher. Just at the right time for Lee Wood. I think it's one of the great stories in British boxing. He's a brilliant guy, Lee, as you probably interviewed him. So yeah, he is a fantastic guy. He's been a servant to the sport, and what it means is, and I'm sure we'll come to last weekend's card, that we've got Kid Galahad, Josh Warrington if he beats Mauricio Lara, Michael Conlon winning last weekend or last Friday night in Belfast against TJ Darney, and who have I missed out? Kid Galahad, Warrington if he wins, Lee Wood and Conlon. Like, what a great foursome of featherweights. Conlon obviously at super bantam and featherweight in the UK and Ireland at the moment, that we can have some amazing fights, notwithstanding Gary Russell Jr., Navarrete and Leo Santa Cruz, who are the other champions, of course, in the featherweight division. So there's a potential for some real exciting stuff in the future at featherweight. The first, that was brilliant. Obviously, Conor Benn had dropped out, so it kind of made up for Conor Benn testing positive or pinging for COVID and not being able to fight Adrian Granados. I'm sure that'll come around soon. I'm not sure that's got a date yet, is it?
Well, I think it's going to be announced soon. It'll be on the Leeds card for Warrington.
Right. Oh, that's going to be a big card now, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Katie Taylor on there and Josh Warrington and Mauricio Lara rematch. Worried about Warrington in that one. I think it's a very tough stylistic matchup for him, in spite of the fact that he's going to have better preparation this time around. What did I make of it? Well, it's like a music festival jamboree. You can see the food tents in the background and the mobile coffee shops, and we know what the Matchroom back garden, Matchroom Square Garden is a lovely setup. We know that. I've been there a few times myself. What did I make of it? They're just rolling out all the Matchroom fighters at the moment, aren't they, on both of those cards? Last weekend I thought Kid Galahad showed exactly how good he is. And Jazza Dickens showed how tough he is and how resilient he is, but was never really got into the fight enough to put enough pressure on Kid Galahad, who I think has become better and better and better. And for me, and I know styles make fights, but he's arguably the best of those 4 featherweights now. Obviously he's been beaten by Josh Warrington in the past, but that was a razor-tight fight. But I think last weekend provided a few spills and thrills. Ebony Bridges looked pretty good. She got the knockout. I won't say it was an Muhammad Ali style finish, but I think she got the job done really well against Beck Connolly. I thought the heavyweights really performed. Fabio Wardley, Alan Babich, the Savage, the Marriage Savage, as I'm now calling him, proposing to his beautiful girlfriend after a ding dong with the big fella, maybe showing that he might not have enough power for the very big heavyweights, but still he's so entertaining. Fabio Wardley won. Who was the other heavyweight that won on the night? Johnny Fisher went to 3-0 as well. I thought it was entertaining stuff, but it's not big, giant box office, is it? But it's well managed. It's the launch of DAZN and Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, and it's what they wanted to do. They wanted to create a kind of festival-style jamboree, and they pulled it off. Okay,
and whilst you're away,
what did you make of it?
I thought listen, Britain has 2 new world champions, so that is obviously a big thing in itself. I think the production has been really good. I think the commentary from Chris Lloyd and Andy Lee's been spot on. I know obviously Mike Costello's is going to return now since the Olympics are all done. I think it's been really good. I agree with you. We haven't had that kind of like box office fight yet. Obviously, Conor Benn pulling out the first fight due to COVID didn't help, because he was obviously the biggest name across the whole 3 shows. But I think especially the week 1, that card was really good. I really enjoyed that card. And obviously Buatsi Bolotnik's a really good main event coming up next week. Well, this weekend, sorry. So yeah, I think it's a solid start. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And, there's new presenters, Laura Woods and Maya JAMA involved. They're finding their feet.
Well, Gareth, let me ask you about that. A bit of criticism for Maya JAMA over the weekend. What do you think about that?
Well, she did get the pronunciation of DAZN wrong, which you probably shouldn't do when you're the lead broadcaster. But and I don't want you to make that the headline, by the way, because apart from that, I don't. And if you do, I'll come over there and I'll bash you up. Well, I'll give you elbows. Well, I won't fit be elbows. No, but she's not a boxing presenter. She worked with Peter Crouch, didn't she? That's how she became. Yeah. Is that right? On that show, yeah. It's always nice to have new faces in the sport. There's always complaints when people start because people get used to certain things. But it's good that they're growing their team. They're getting broader depth. And it's a journey. We've spoken about this a few times in our, IFL TV sessions, that the landscape shifting, that there's a seismic shift in the whole digital move, and it'll be interesting to see how Sky responds to that with their, Top Rank and Boxer they'll announce their schedule for the autumn and the winter in the next couple of weeks. So, it's great. It's interesting, and while I was away, I thought Joe Joyce looked good against Carlos Takam. I do think he looked solid. People said, oh God, but he got knocked by Takam. No, he's got a fantastic chin. He's a rock'em sock'em robot type fighter. And for me, it was a solid performance. He did what he's meant to do, which is he breaks people down, and he is a juggernaut. He eventually runs them over, and he's going to get hit. And he hasn't got the fastest hands in the world, but he marches you down, and he chops you up. He knocks you down like a tree. Chops at you. So it's been an interesting few weeks on the boxing front.
Yeah, definitely. And Joe Joyce in a fantastic position in the heavyweight division right now.
Absolutely. And becoming more popular as well, and people enjoying him. You mentioned, I didn't answer it, but you mentioned Bolotniks this weekend against Joshua Buatsi. This is his first genuine test. Bolotniks is a proficient, dangerous fighter. He's got very good record. Joshua Buatsi has to be on his game for this fight, and this is the fight that will the light heavyweight division, because he's a novice still in many ways. What, 14-0, I think he is. 12 knockouts. This is the fight that will just take him up to challenging those guys who are. Bolotniks is like 3, 5, and 6 with 3 of the organizations, or the sanctioning bodies, 3, 5, and 7, something like that. So, this is that benchmark fight where people start to say how he deals with Bolotniks, whether he wins it comfortably, if he can stop the guy. This will be the moment that marks people talking about whether he's going to be able to compete with the world champions at 175 pounds.
Okay, we'll look forward to that on DAZN this Saturday night. Gareth, over the weekend, we saw comments from both Amir Khan and Kell Brook. Amir Khan went to Fight Type, I believe, and said that he really wants that Kell Brook fight before the end of the year in the UK. And Kell Brook on IFL, again, saying, yeah, I've always wanted the fight. We can make it happen. And things are actually happening behind the scenes. But how many times have we said it has to happen now or it's never going to happen? What are your thoughts on whether Amir Khan and Kell Brook can actually happen this year?
Well, my feeling is it's clear that, look, Kell Brook was down there involved in the event, he did loads of media, didn't he? He couldn't get enough of it, which is good. And was saying, yes, Babby, I want the guy. And, I know how much Kell Brook wants that fight with Amir Khan. I mean, I've sat with him in at the Winco Bank gym, the Ingle gym, and him like go dark in the eyes when he talks about Amir Khan. Like, he really wants that fight. Look, they've both been beaten by Terence Crawford. It was interesting to see Amir Khan out there now training with Terence Crawford. I like that. I like it when a beaten fighter goes and trains with a guy that beats them. I love the ambition in that. A lot of great things have come out of that. And I've spoken to Amir myself, and he wants that fight. And it is really, that's the fight out there for both of them. They've both been beaten by Crawford, obviously. But yeah, I think it will happen. I think the fight will happen. It's way overdue. I mean, it's a couple of years out of date, maybe 3 or 4 now with COVID. So it's it's long overdue, and it's still an interesting fight between them. Amir's still got fast hands. But he's got vulnerability around the whiskers that he's kind of had for years. But he's still a very exciting fighter. Cal is over the hill as well. I'd rather see them fight each other than them fight a Conor Benn, a raging, strong young bull. So yeah, I think it will happen. And I think one of the reasons instinctively why it will happen is that Matchroom and DAZN are looking for some of those fights that are going to generate a bit more mainstream interest. And I could see those guys doing that. If they got together, Khan and Brook, but the egos and the animosity between them is so strong that they won't do that, I don't think. They could probably get it on Sky Box Office, frankly. But I think that DAZN and Hearn will put up the money to see those two fights, and I think it's an opportunity for them to draw more subscribers through putting that on, even though it's out of date, because they're both, you know, they are kind of mainstream sports stars because of the narrative and the careers they both had. Do you think it's going to happen?
With that one, I can't really say. But what I will say is that if they get a good guarantee from DAZN, especially as you said, the fight isn't as big as it would have been one.
Yeah.
It would have done a ridiculous amount of pay-per-view buys. That isn't guaranteed. So if DAZN can put up both hefty purses for the pair of them, then it might get them in the ring. But then you never know. As you said, Sky Sports box office may say we think it's going to do an X number of buys, and that might be a better option.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but they're gonna have to do that deal and sit down and do that deal. I think that'll take longer. The process of that will take longer than Hearn signing it with Matchroom. And it was interesting to see Kid Galahad sign a multi-fight deal with Matchroom today as well.
Moving on, last thing I want to discuss, whilst again you're away in the States, we heard announcements from Frank Warren that Daniel Dubois and Tommy Fury will be on the Showtime pay-per-view card on August 29th. Jake Paul v Tyron Woodley. Let's start with Tommy Fury. He's done a 2-fight deal with Showtime. It's going to be Jake Paul next in that second fight if they both win on the 29th, isn't it, Gareth?
Well, I spoke to him I spoke to Tommy on Saturday night on TalkSport. He came on the show live, and as I said to him, you must be praying that Jake Paul wins and that you win, and that Tyron Woodley doesn't beat Jake Paul. Because if Tyron Woodley beats Jake Paul, the bubble bursts, doesn't it? And I do think Jake Paul may well win that on Saturday night, because Tommy gets the opportunity to step into the ring then, stand eyeball to eyeball with him and say, let's get it on. And it's going to be on. And Tommy said that he doesn't think Jake's got the cojones. I think he has. I think they have got big cojones, both the Paul brothers. I'm not saying it's brilliant for boxing, but it's something that's ongoing at the moment. Once they get badly beaten, I think the bubble will burst. But yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think, you know, it will generate big news. And I think it will happen. I think that it's written in the stars. And I think there'll be a massive amount of interest in Tommy Fury against Jake Paul, just as there'll be a massive amount of interest, I think, in Tommy Fury making his US debut, as there will be with Daniel Dubois in America. It's a brilliant move by Frank. It's a great idea to get them over there on Showtime and showcase them, because, you know, Bob Arum told me on Saturday night as well that, you know, Anthony Joshua doesn't have any profile in America. All people remember is, or the profile they remember is, him getting beaten by Andy Ruiz. And that's what Americans remember, not the rematch in Saudi Arabia where he beat Andy Ruiz. So it's a good idea because I want Anthony Joshua to go to America and build in America at some point as well. I think it'd be so good for him. He doesn't need to, but I still think it would be good for him. And ditto for Daniel Dubois and Tommy Fury, making their American bow. Yeah, on what will be, there'll be a lot of interest on that on Saturday night, because Tyron Woodley was a big figure in the UFC, but I've just got this instinct that Jake Paul might do it, because Tyron's 4 losses on the bounce. He's been knocked out a couple of times, and you know, he's a lot of wear and tear on his body, and he's not a boxer, and he throws big winging shots, whereas Paul is much more direct and down the middle, isn't he? So I'm interested. I was interested. You didn't stay up, I don't think, but I stayed up for Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
I didn't do that one. I didn't stay up for that one. I'll be honest.
No, you didn't.